You're listening to Tell Me Everything on Sirius XM Progress 127. Follow along on Twitter at John Fugelsang.
Congratulations, Super Mario Brothers movie. Who would have thought that's going to save cinemas? We worry a lot about movie theaters surviving. That's why I was happy to support Avatar 2. Audiences went crazy for Super Mario Brothers movie. I took my horrible child to see it up in Harlem last week. And boy, there's a lot of hopes that maybe we'll start going back to see movies together in theaters with other humans. It would be lovely. The Super Mario Brothers movie was a massive hit. AMC on Saturday saw the highest day of sales in U.S. theaters since theaters reopened. Yeah, it did better than any Marvel movie or Avatar 2. Attendance at Cinemark on Saturday was the largest on a single day since Christmas of 2019, right before the pandemic. You know where people are returning? They're returning to Broadway. You know why? Well, quality theater is one, and the other is they all go to Broadway hoping they might run in to our next guest. Keith Price is a comedian, actor, a writer, a radio star. He was the first openly gay black radio host at Sirius XM. He co-anchored the morning show on the breakthrough channel OutQ, and you should catch his wonderful Broadway podcast, Keith Price's Curtain Call. Comedy Daddy, welcome back.
Hello, darling. Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
I'm very
good.
So good
to
Thank
see you.
It's very good to see you. Before we go any further, I want to thank you in the presence of everyone here. I had to go to Florida. My mother-in-law had a big Easter birthday weekend, and Keith Price came to our place up here, and he kept our horrible pets alive for a whole weekend, and I thank you.
Your pets are not horrible. They were really actually very good. I love Mimi. After the cheese introduction, she and I became very close.
Yes, it's kind of twisted. You got to give it to Pomeranian cheese so they won't eat you. But yeah.
That's true. But it was so squishy and so cute and adorable. And the cats were like, oh, you're putting food out. All right, well, I'll look at you. But we're not going to spend too much time around you because we're just going to eat and go. And that's kind of what they did. And it was, yep.
The cats didn't try to seduce you, huh? They didn't try to seduce you?
No, but you know what they did try to do? You were right. It's like, Escape from Alcatraz if you accidentally open that door. As soon as they heard the door open, they had to run. So I was like, all right.
I'm literally chasing cats around a backyard in Harlem, trying to drag them back in. The dog is very beautiful. The dog. My wife's midlife crisis led her to get this little puff ball. I mean, she looks like a Wookiee's testicle. This Pomeranian. She's just this puff thing, and it's just like honestly, it's like living with a cokehead model. Like she is just mercurial. She has huge temper issues. She vomits all over the place. She misbehaves in public. She's way too loud, but she's so damn beautiful. People forgive all this bad behavior. I swear, I'm living with
like
Linda
a
Evangelista. And exactly. Well, thank you.
She's a Kardashian. So it was wonderful. So it was so delightful and very pleasant, and it was great because you're much closer to downtown than I am in the Bronx. So
well, I'm glad I could help. Thank you.
So that worked out beautifully.
I gotta ask you what your take is on Donald Trump trying really, really, really hard to assert an executive privilege he doesn't have, not being the executive anymore. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen someone try this hard to stop somebody else from testifying.
I love it because we always keep saying, if you're telling the truth about whatever it is that you're telling the truth about, you don't have to do a lot of the, genuflecting around things. You don't have to consort. And it's like every time something happens that seems like it's getting closer and closer to Donald Trump, things just keep getting more and more insane of him trying to keep information coming from it. It's like, well, I wonder why you're working this freaking hard to do this, to the point where he's, his minions are like, sending threatening things to DA Bragg here in DC or here in New York, trying to keep him so occupied so that he can't focus on the actual thing that he's, everyone's freaking out about. Same thing, it's amazing to me that if there was truth that anybody really wanted to come out, this amount of suppression that we keep seeing, we would not be seeing. Like, it's just, so it's like, so it's very difficult to continue to have any kinds of real conversations with people when you just point that one fact out. It's like, if you were telling the truth and you had nothing to hide, you're not going to sue people from talking. You're not going to have your minions sending, powdered envelopes to a DA. You're not going to be calling people's names out so that they wind up having mini militias showing up at their houses like they did Miss Ruby with the first round of elections.
That's
like
right.
you wouldn't have these things happening if you were telling the truth. So I don't understand how is it that we can't see, from that logical place. Why is it so hard to not be able to say the man is a fucking lying piece of garbage that
Wait, which
needs
one are
to
we
be
talking?
dealt
Wait,
with?
are you talking about Trump or Pence? You confused me there for a bit because, I mean,
He's another
to me,
piece.
the one of the media's biggest failings is failing to point out that Trump and Pence have much more in common than they have different about them. I mean, yes, their
Very
demeanors
true.
are different. The way they talk is different. I'm sure the quality of their escorts is very varied, but they're both in it just for themselves. They're both willing to pretend they're much more pious than they actually are. When it comes to with the policies they support, they are morally equal in every way.
Exactly.
And to me, I always thought Pence was just, all the evil with half the comedy value and twice the hypocrisy.
Exactly. To me, it's sort of like it's the calm tone versus crazy. And it's the same thing with DeSantis. DeSantis is still talking crazy shit, but have you noticed you don't see him yelling?
No.
You don't see him calling people really ridiculous names, try to tag at them. He's just staying calm with his crazy, insane, military complex ideals that he's got working in his
but DeSantis, no, you're right. But DeSantis is also someone who right now is just kind of, biding his time, waiting for Donald Trump to implode and catch on fire and run around screaming.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's DeSantis's whole big plan. Step one, wait for Trump to self-destruct.
Finally detonate.
Step two, question mark. Step three, become president. Like, if Donald Trump doesn't flip out and gets this nomination, all Ron DeSantis has to do is sit on his war chest and wait 4 years.
Yeah. But it's and then Tim Scott.
Can we talk about Tim Scott? Can we talk about the only black Republican in the Senate? He said today, they asked him if he would endorse Trump if Trump won the primary. And Tim just said, I plan on being the nominee. He's forming a presidential exploratory committee, which I would like to say is the most bullshit political term you'll ever hear, except he's also going to do a listening tour, the most bullshit political term you'll ever hear. He's trying to sell conservative optimism and friendly black Republican. Go ahead.
Exactly. So that all of these crazy ass Republicans can say, well, I can vote for him. That's the black guy we can get behind. Well, I mean,
no, it's more like a Ben Carson, Herman Cain. I can allow him on stage at the debates because he has a very useful function. The what? Me racist guy.
Yeah, but the best part is that he has a Senate career in which he's done really not much else as far as really doing things. So he can get into the bandwagon if he wants. But honestly, really, what do you expect this man to bring to the table? That's, it's like you're not bringing anything that, especially for people of color to look at, if that's the goal as well. It's like you're bringing nothing. You know what I'm saying?
There's no real assumption that he will draw black voters to the Republican Party. I mean, Mitch McConnell begged him to run, and I think we know why. The Republican Party is tired of being called racist. But instead of just running a super conservative black Republican, how about fight for policies that are less racist? How about acknowledging that racism is a thing? Keith, I mean, it seems to me that this guy, Tim Scott, has a war chest of 21... excuse me, $21 million bucks. Excuse me, $21 million bucks in his Senate account, and now he can raise money directly for a presidential campaign. He's got lots of money, but his party doesn't want an optimism campaign. They want vengeance and victimhood. And B, right now, Morning Consult's primary tracker poll has him at 1%. He's running for vice president. He's running for vice president, isn't he?
And the best part is that somebody will take him and bring him along because they're going to need to have that kind of look in order to sell the rest of the bullshit that they got behind. And again, like I said, I'm just tired. It's like these people they all exhaust me because it is very clear to me what the agenda is. It stares at me directly, and it's like I don't get why people don't see it. And I don't get why people don't want to see it. Because I guess in the end, when you don't want to see this forces you to have to think differently. This forces you to have to actually participate in a way that that you're going to have to look at a gay person, or you're going to have to talk to a black person, or you're going to have, and they're going to have to do more than be of in service or in entertainment value to you. And that's what's not happening. And until we really make that shit happen more, it's going to be a harder sell. It's like, I just get so tired because, we're watching, like I said, we're watching people sending envelopes to DAs, in the name of Trump, because,
that's right.
We're still living with that. And it's like, until we can kind of find a way to really root some of that out and stop letting it multiply, or like, as I said before, do accountability. Hold these people responsible. If, we found, what is it, the Unabomber. So we can find the Unabomber, these fucking yahoos that are putting powder in an envelope and just mailing it, we're going to find them. They're going to be found because they're not that bright. A lot of them are not that bright.
I always say that if you're a black person who's willing to put down other black people, there's a white guy who will put you on TV. But if you're a black Republican who's willing to say there is no racism, there's a white guy who will run you for president.
That's right. That is right.
Let's go to the phones. I want to bring in some of our evil army of the night, Keith. We are at 866-997-4748, 866-997-GRIT. Keith, I've got to warn you, we're going to listen to a little bit of audio very soon of Tucker Carlson's groveling interview before the man he hates passionately, Donald Trump. It's kind of beautiful. Brian in Oregon, thanks for your patience on hold. Welcome. Everyone's getting on the air tonight, so give us a call. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys, and then I was thinking what Tim Scott's got to bring. I don't know. I'll say it anyways.
Say it.
He's got a package of Oreos to bring.
Oh, you better work. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but
Well, you're the only one who can say it. Hang on a second. Can I ask a question about? Hang on a second. You might have just lost your black card, Brian. Like that's a joke I wouldn't make, Keith. That's a joke I wouldn't make.
But you know what I said when I saw his face come across the screen the first time, and they were talking about him running for president. It was N-word, please, and I did not hesitate because I was like, you got to be out your effing mind.
Nuclear, please.
Nuclear, please. Did you hear about that, Keith? Donald Trump said there's 2 N-words you can never say, and one's nuclear, and he said it 7 times. Yeah. He's so brilliant.
Nuclear warming.
There you go. Well, yeah, Trump's like, you can never use nukes. It's like you wanted to nuke a hurricane, comb over Caligula. He wanted to throw a nuke into a hurricane. Mr. Fire and Fury. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. Anyways, did you hear that guy in, I think it was a Florida State legislator that was just went on this, like, I think he might have been an African American, but on an incredibly weird religious rant against trans people.
Can you narrow it down a little bit? Can you narrow it down a little bit?
It was yesterday, and he was in the Florida State House, and he was calling these trans people that were living with a bunch. It's like being in
demons and imps.
Imps, yeah, and being like in an X movie or whatever those.
He said, we have people that live among us today on planet Earth that are happy to display themselves as if they were mutants from another planet. This is the planet Earth, with God created men, male, and women, female. I called you demons and imps who come and parade before us. Does this guy know that there's several species in nature that actually change their gender in the course of their lives? And then he said he's a conservative Christian, which I guess is why he's persecuting the least of us.
That's what he loves is Jesus, right?
Oh, absolutely. But that's my whole thing, Keith. I go crazy about this. I say to every one of these motherfuckers, every one, and boy, Keith, I got it all weekend from these bigots. Oh, my God. I say to every one of them, tell me, Christian, where does Jesus tell you that you should treat transgender people any different than you should treat Jesus? He's very, very specific. As you treated the least of these, you treated me. So really, it's just a matter of, and then I say to them, show me where in your holy book Jesus ever says anything against gay people or trans people. And they can never do it. They quote Leviticus, they quote Romans. They don't realize that Romans isn't about gay people and that Leviticus ain't Jesus. It's just they want to hate, and it's like
they want to hate, and they want to find a place to validate it. You know,
yeah.
Trump gave them the license to bring their hate to the forefront in a way that we never seen. You know,
but Trump wasn't even anti-marriage equality. Trump, to his iffy credit, was never anti-marriage equality. And I thought, all right, well, that'll bring these people along into the late 18th century. But no, they still are hating marriage equality, even though their grand venereal wizard is okay with it. It's just they just want to hate. None of them have read the Bible, and the Democrats won't fight back on this.
And the thing that I'm sorry, I was just going to say, and the thing that. No, I was just going to say, and the thing when you bring up gay marriage or same-sex marriage, as much as we've seen it happening in this country, can you explain to me what has changed in the terms of, like, let's say your marriage, John, as a heterosexual man, has anything changed for you? Like the way
it's been horrible. Yeah. Yeah. My kid robbed the Stuckies. I'm blaming it's the breakdown of the family system, Keith. It's the threat to traditional marriage. I'm blaming all of my heterosexual dysfunction on homosexual marriage, and it works out really well for me. I'm not going to question my parenting. I'm going to blame the gays. What's your problem, sir?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's my point. Bob and Steve that are in the cul-de-sac with the cute house and the fabulously manicured yard and the seasonal decorations every season, they do not miss a holiday, do not give a shit about you and your fucking kids next door. They don't care how you pay your mortgage. They don't care how you have to educate your kids. They're living their lives. If you want to come over for Sunday brunch, come over and have a good afternoon and be like a normal person. You can come and be adults over there with the gay people and stop being so ridiculous. Stop being so damn, but they don't. They choose to make this a scene. So, all right, well, you people are getting upset about it.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I think Chris needs to run for governor of South Carolina.
Thank you. Yes, already.
What?
Yes, he'd be my carpetbagger of choice.
He would bring a lot of more. Well, at least the governor would have a sense of humor. Well,
yes, he would.
Chris having a sense of humor.
And a governor who can do a good Trump impression we need as well.
I've got the right amount of teeth to qualify, so.
You better work, Chris.
Well, you do barbecue every Thursday.
Brian, they really love transplants and outsiders down here, so I think it's a shoo-in.
Yeah, it's the carpetbagger vote. It's really hot.
I'll send my ballot to you.
When he tells me he's from New York, they really like him even more.
Oh, gotcha.
I bet you're lucky you haven't been tossed into the bay.
There's plenty of good folks down there.
John, it's funny. When I tell them I'm from New York, they do like it, but it's funny. Everyone down here talks weird. They replace all the N's with J's when they say it.
What do you mean? Oh, never mind. Thank you. Yeah, okay. By the way, Congress, there's a legislator in Florida, Carlos Guillermo Smith. He was testifying about this whole trans business, and he stood up and he asked the Republican members in the Florida legislature, he says, come debate me right now and tell me why you feel so strongly that we absolutely must expel these trans kids currently playing on sports teams. And no one stood up. Mm-hmm. And he said, you didn't stand up because you can't defend the indefensible. And that's what I say all the time, Keith. I'm saying, please tell me, please, Republican loved one, why it's safer to leave my child with a Catholic priest than with a drag queen. And show me your data. Show me your data. Show me why it's more dangerous with a drag queen than a priest. It's just...
And now the Dalai Lama.
And now the Dalai Lama. Hello, Dolly. Oh, we talked about that last night.
The priest, the Dalai Lama, what's next?
Well, can I just say something I said briefly last night, which is, on behalf of all the world's great religions, we've all been tired of the Buddhists being the cool ones for all these decades. It's about time that Buddhism fucked up like this. I think it's fine. I mean, it's not fine what he did, but on behalf of all believe me, a lot of Catholics are like, oh my God, it wasn't us this one time.
This one time.
Well, I think
this one time.
I think it's the impermanence coming through.
Yeah, they asked the Dalai Lama, why did you do that? And because he's Buddhist, he said, it was nothing. It was nothing. It didn't last. Keith, do you know what we're talking about? Have you seen the clip yet?
No, I haven't.
Well, this is going to be... Go ahead.
No, I'm interested in the Dalai Lama's touching people too. Fabulous.
No, it's worse than that. It's, oh, wow. See what you've done now, Brian? I've got to explain this really briefly. You can watch the video. I told Sharmi not to watch it.
Okay.
Dalai Lama lives in northern India, as you know, where he's been in exile since, the late 50s. And a lot of people come to pay their respects. And Dalai Lama's awesome. Praise him all the time. I've called him out in the past when he said things that were iffy, but he's old. He's 87 years old. So His Holiness was having this reception yesterday, and this little boy, couldn't have been older than 9, came up to him, and His Holiness asked him to give him a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Then he pointed to his lips and said, "Here, kiss me on the lips," and the kid did. And then he stuck out his tongue and told the child to suck his tongue.
Ew.
He did it in front of a whole room full of people, cameras rolling. So now some people have said rightly that in traditional Tibetan cultures, sticking out your tongue is a sign of respect. It's a common greeting. So I get that. Someone wrote me an angry letter today saying, no, this is what old folks do. They will pass a chocolate or a candy to a young person by mouth. It's an old tradition in ancient Tibet. I'm like, okay, there was no candy passed. And even if there was, I think we as a culture have kind of got to the point where we say that's inappropriate. And for me, it's so messy because it's the Dalai Lama. Like, you can't fire that guy. When he dies, he comes back in the same job. So you know what? Who I feel bad about? The little kid who's going to be the next Dalai Lama. Because these Buddhists are going to find someone. They're going to say, "Oh, we believe you are His Holiness. You are you're the 12th Dalai Lama." And that kid's parents are going to say, "No fucking way. My child doesn't ask other kids to suck his tongue." No. And that little kid's going to grow up saying, "Hi, I'm the Dalai Lama." And no one's going to play with him. He's going to pay for what this guy did. They're going to call him a groomer before he's walking. The next Dalai Lama is fucked because of this. He broke the brand, Keith, is what I'm trying to say.
He did break the brand. There's a broken moment in there. I mean, again, we want everybody to live their lives and have their culture. I mean, if that's a cultural thing, as creepy as it is, I mean, there's still cultures where people are marrying, 13 and 14-year-old girls. So, like
in this country. But I mean, he what he did?
Hello.
He ruined my script for Kundun 2. I spent 10 years working on this. There's a car chase and everything. That was what the original Kundun was lacking. I'm telling you, the next Dalai Lama, that poor kid.
Man.
Brian, thank you. I've hijacked your entire call, and I thank you very much for it. I think Brian hung up about 20 minutes ago. 866-997-4748. Yeah, I didn't know how to prepare you for that.
Wow.
You can watch the video, but I'm not embellishing, friends. You don't need to watch it. It doesn't take away from all the good His Holiness has done. They're going to come out and say that he's. We're going to hear about a dementia diagnosis within the next month. I mean, there's like his name didn't trend. His name didn't trend yesterday. Today, he was trending around number 15 worldwide. Wow. The story is starting to have legs, and there's. I mean, what world leader, what philanthropist, what celebrity will be photographed next to the Dalai Lama? Who will be seen with him after this? Who will welcome him to their events after this? And also, when he took $1 million from the Keith Raniere Nexium cult, kind of fucked up too. So yeah, there's blind spots, but yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, we can forgive the Nexium, but the kid thing is going to be a harder sell. I'm just saying.
I know. It's so icky. Let me go to Dylan in New Mexico. Hi, Dylan.
Hi, Dylan.
Hey.
Hey.
What's going on, guys?
Happy Herbie Hancock birthday day. That's what's going on.
Yeah. Don't take candy from strangers. But
exactly.
Thank you.
Herbie Hancock. He is my musician idol. I have loved his music since I was a kid. He's amazing, and I just think that there's no one that tops him on the keys, and that's just my opinion. But he's just like mind-boggling. The guy is. If you ever, he has a discography like the size of freaking Mars. It's huge. It's ridiculous how much music this guy has, and how many people have sampled his music, and how many ideas that people have took from him. I mean, he's the guy. It was him and Chick Corea that were really big on the Moog synthesizer. They used those two musicians to promote the Moog synthesizer because it was like a new age, opening up the door to new sounds.
It's true.
You know,
No, it's true. But I mean, Miles Davis gets the credit for this, don't you think? I mean, Miles Davis asked him to join his band 60 years ago, back in '63, and he was his keyboard player for like 5 years. And I mean, he's played with everybody from Miles Davis to Joni Mitchell. But like, I always heard that Miles Davis was kind of a mentor for him, and by the time he left Miles Davis's band, he was considered to be one of the best pianists of all time in jazz.
Oh yeah,
wow.
definitely. Him and Wayne Shorter. But this is the thing. I love Miles Davis. I named my son after Miles Davis. I mean, I'm a huge Miles Davis fan. But I will say that Miles Davis, when he brought Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock to, and I learned this from listening to Marcus Miller. He has a Miller time. It's on Sundays at 3:00 Mountain Time. But he was doing an interview with Herbie Hancock, and he was talking about that Miles Davis was like, when he heard Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock, he didn't know what it was, and like he was very, because Miles Davis. This is the thing. He never practiced. He never practiced with the band. He told them the notes, what the key was, and he decided the best musicians.
I heard that too.
Something new, and the guy's amazing. I mean, you can't question him. But so what Wayne Shorter and Herbie Hancock, and Miles Davis never questioned anything that they played. And so they just like, okay, so they just kept on going at it. And it's just outside of the box stuff. And, at first Miles Davis was just like sort of confused, but then he would go and practice for like a week. And Herbie said he came back like a week later and like, then they're confused on what he's playing. So the guy, Miles Davis, is amazing. He's like the,
but Herbie Hancock is amazing. I mean, when I was a kid, Rocket was winning all those. Remember Rocket? I mean, the video and the synthesizers, and it wasn't jazz, it wasn't rock, it didn't sound like anything you'd ever heard before. It was a huge hit. I mean, Herbie Hancock has always been an innovator, regardless of the genre he's working in.
Oh, he's absolutely amazing, and I influence all of the musicians out there. Doesn't matter what style of music, just listen to some of his music. It's amazing. He's still performing too, still playing live.
Yeah,
I
played at Glastonbury last year.
At the Hollywood Bowl. So that was 13 years ago I saw him.
Nice.
And then I saw him again about 5 years ago, I think. So,
well, you have great taste. I have no idea why you listen to this show, sir, but you have excellent taste. Thank you, Dylan. Happy birthday to the great Herbie Hancock. Thank you, sir. 866-997-GRIT. Okay, Keith, are you ready?
Talk to me.
Tucker Carlson had a bunch of text messages released as part of the Dominion lawsuit. And we all got to know how much he hates Donald Trump, and he was praying for Donald Trump to lose. I hate him passionately. And this week, he crawled down to Mar-a-Lago with his little lipless grin and had to sit at Trump's feet while Trump talked and talked and talked. Here is A5 Donald Trump, and you can comment over this, explaining how, when he got arraigned, they were crying for him at the courthouse. Did you know this? A5.
Well, it was a horrible thing because I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. You look at even the pundits and the legal analysis, Greg Jarrett, all of these really talented people.
Hence the 34 felony counts.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
so that's number one. Number two, they were incredible. When I went to the courthouse, which is also a prison in a sense,
there's
they
cells
signed
there,
me
you
in.
moron.
And I'll tell you, people were crying. People that work there, professionally work there, that have no problems putting in murderers, and they see everybody. It's tough place. And they were crying. They were actually crying. They said, I'm sorry. They'd say, 2024, sir, 2024. And tears are pouring down their eyes. I've never seen anything like those people are phenomenal. Those are your police.
Yep.
Those are the people that work at the courthouse. They're unbelievable people.
Cops, forget that my fans beat you up on the Capitol steps, okay?
Many apologists were sorry, sir. We're sorry. They had to have me do certain things. They said, sir, I can't believe I have to ask you. I can't even believe that I have to ask you to do it. You could see. So in one sense, it was beautiful because they get it. In another sense, it's nasty. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. They didn't teach me about that. That wasn't
about the arraignment part.
That wasn't.
Maybe the kid you paid to take your test should have told you. Yeah, it's beautiful.
God have mercy. I love it. They were crying. Yeah, they were crying with laughter. You idiot. That's why giggles. Because laughter and crying are the same things. They sound exactly the same. Trust me.
So funny.
I cried and laughed at a funeral at the exact same time, and you couldn't understand the difference between the two because it sounded like I was crying, but I was howling with laughter. So it's like yeah, they were crying. And you notice whoever those people that were crying weren't the ones that were on camera.
Yeah, I noticed the people who were crying. None of them have volunteered any interviews yet, but I'm sure they'll come out at some point. I want to play another one. Here's Trump. Kim Jong-un, who murders and starves his own people. Great guy. A6.
We get along great. To this day, we get along great. He won't talk to Biden. He won't even talk to these people. He won't even talk to him. He has no respect for him. He's a man. If he respects you, he'll respect you. He wouldn't talk to Obama. Obama tried to get meetings with him. He wouldn't meet with him. He met with me. I met with him twice. I would have had a deal worked out with him.
No American president has ever tried to meet with Kim Jong-un because he is a dictator who murders his own people. No one wants to be seen with him because they don't want to be the president who legitimized this fat, stupid, evil murderer.
Much less take a picture saluting him. Hello.
Wasn't that great?
Do we not remember?
No one on Fox remembers because Fox viewers never saw that photo. Fox viewers never saw that photo, so they will never know. But here's something really great. Here, Donald Trump, Keith, reveals that Putin is scared of him, but only like 10%.
The same thing with Putin. I said I was going to do something really nasty if he goes into Ukraine. He said, no, you're not going to do that. I said, I will. And he didn't believe me, but he believed me 10%. And the 10%, you never heard talk about going into Ukraine. You never heard talk about going into Taiwan until I was no longer there.
What?
Now, what a mess the world is in.
I feel like...
Go ahead.
I keep thinking, we were talking about those leaks that the Pentagon has had in the last week that have, revealed all this fabulous information. I would almost guarantee you that those leaks are probably some of the shit that's hidden in those pieces of paper that we couldn't find. There's a connection or a link to some of that stuff that's in there that all of a sudden now he's like, really, these people are really great. They really liked me. I did a lot of work to try to end this. It's like
he's doing
absolutely nothing.
He's doing his whole thing.
And they let him.
Putin would have never invaded if I was president because he's 10% scared of me. And it's like he called Putin's invasion brilliant and strong when it first began. The fact is that when Obama was president, Putin invaded Crimea. And when Bush was president, Putin invaded Georgia. And when Bill Clinton was president, Putin invaded Chechnya. And when Trump was president, Putin invaded the U.S. White House.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. With his Red Sparrow wife. I don't care what none of you people will say to me. I saw the movie. I looked at it and I thought, terrible performance by Jennifer Lawrence. That's okay. Horrible accent thing. It was horrible. But the concept made complete sense to me. And it was like, if you stop and think about it, really, truly, what does Donald Trump have to offer except fake power and fake money that he's got from other people? That's really what he has to offer. So what is this hot-ass chick that you see, Miss Melania, Miss former, showing her coochie box to the world back in wherever her home country was, how is she just going to hook up with him randomly and become the first lady of this country? And now we barely hear a word out of her.
Well, but that's because she's keeping such a sharp eye on him from the place she and Barron Trump live, somewhere in another state. We got to hit a break. Keith, will you stay with us till the top of the hour?
Baby, I'm right here.
We'll be right back after this. This is Progress After Dark.
Tell Me Everything with John Fugelsang on Sirius XM Progress 127.
What a day. Donald Trump is suing Michael Cohen for $500 million after finding out that Michael Cohen's a witness in his indictment. Make the discovery phase great again. Keith Price, how do our listeners follow you and keep up with all your doings?
They can catch me on the Twitter at Comedy Daddy and KeithPriceCurtainCall.com for everything else. Or KeithPriceComic.com, I'm sorry.
Brilliant. I want to thank all of our guests tonight, including Bob Seska. Thanks to the great Thea Harper. Thanks to the great Chris Hauselt. As always, thank you, Keith Price. We'll be back tomorrow with even more. Keep it tuned to Progress. I'm John Fugelsang. Thank you for listening. Fight the powers that be. Peace.